There is nothing that affects most Ghanaians more than transport fares because many of us use private commercial transport in commuting from work to home, from home to the office. And so each time there is an announcement that transport fares are going to go up, it is a big conversation. But what has made this latest announcement even more controversial is the circumstances surrounding which it's happened. It was sudden, it was unanticipated, it followed its own unique procedure, which we haven't known since 2001. So there are a lot of unique factors. In 20 years, since transfer fares was being announced by the GPLTU, et cetera, we haven't seen an announcement quite like this. And that's why we are going to be talking about it. What really has changed? And this is signaling what we believe to be fare deregulation, which is a very interesting perspective and interesting concept indeed. And we're going to be interrogating that a bit more because we're hearing from the GPLTU saying that we have deregulated the petroleum market in terms of how the OMCs fix their prices. And what they've announced today, the announcement that has been made today about a 20% increase is the beginning of what we're calling fare deregulation. We're going to get into that for you tonight. Very interesting indeed, and how this affects you. I know many of you have been left confused by the announcement today because some of you may have noticed in the morning when you were going to work, the fares were the same. And then when you're returning, the fares have changed because many more drivers were beginning now to implement the new fares. We're going to be talking about that with the GPLTU themselves and, of course, the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council to try and resolve this conflict that appears now to be eating away at both the transport operators, the government, and the GRTCC. So what has happened? If you don't know, you haven't been to work today, well, if you go to work tomorrow, you expect to pay more for your transport fares, expect to pay 20% more for your transport fares. And there has been confusion at the bus terminals today because the drivers and commuters were arguing. I went to work this morning. I'm going back home. How come I'm paying more just over a period of, say, 8 hours? And that has been a controversial point at the bus terminals we visited. The Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council issued a statement today asking drivers and commuters to disregard the increase by the GPLTU. But as we know, GPLTU called their bluff and said they don't answer to the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council, nor do they answer to government. And so they've gone ahead to implement this, and it's in force today. Now, the GPLTU announced new, and this is the big thing for us tonight as we enter into a new era of transport, of fare deregulation, right? This deregulated procedure for future fare increases is going to be a big deal indeed. So let's break down for you what the procedure has been for almost 2 decades in terms of announcing transport fares, right? This is the procedure that we know of, right? So the last time transport fares went up by 15%, it followed this procedure. And this was in February. That's when the last time transfer fares went up, in February. So you start with the GPLTU making a proposal. And as at that time, the GPLTU proposal was around 30%, right? And then that then goes to the GRTCC. They sit with them, and then they also do a review of this. They get an input in there. Transport Ministry also then gives an input into that, right? So 3 of them, at the end of the day, they have a tripartite committee that then takes the decision. So this tripartite committee will be GPLTU, GRTCC, and the Transport Ministry sitting at the table, and they're making a decision, what is the best fare to charge, mainly based on a host of factors, right? We'll come to those factors, what they've considered in the past in announcing fare. So this has been the structure and the procedure. And if you listen to the GRTCC, they say this is a procedure that they've used in announcing fares for 2 decades, since 2001. Why is this procedure in place? The government and all the stakeholders here understand that nothing affects more Ghanaians than fare increase, not even fuel prices, because fuel prices will only affect those who own vehicles, right? Private owners like myself and commercial owners. So far as those private owners, do not pass on the extra cost you are paying for fuel, the majority of Ghanaians will not feel the impact. So, and we've seen it in the past that when the fuel prices go up at the pumps, it doesn't necessarily automatically lead to an increase in fares. And so, although private commercial operators will bear that burden, you don't feel it. But when fares go up, everybody feels it. The length and breadth of this country, everybody feels it. This is one of the major factors in the inflation rate that we see, because once this goes up, you're going to see increases in food prices, because all the farmers and market women carting goods from Burkina Faso, from farm fields across the country to the capital, to the market to sell, will be paying more for the transport they pay, for the transport that they use to cart the food stuff. That means higher cost of, say, your yam, your plantain, etc. So there's a knock-on effect there that you begin to feel. That's why your bowl of kenke price will go up, because of this. So you expect that to happen. That is why government, GPRTU, the GRTCC say, we understand the impact of this, possibly the most significant impact that the country will feel, and so let's adopt this approach. So this has been a convention. It hasn't been written in any law. It's a convention. But GPRTU says they will no longer follow this process now. They will no longer. Why? We'll get into that very shortly. So now we are entering into a deregulated market as far as the transport fares are concerned. And that is why the GRTCC is unhappy and has issued a statement today saying, we have done this for 2 decades. Why change it? It's worked. Why change it? We'll hear the GPRTU's own explanation why that is. So, as I've said, so in the last, 5 months, we've had 2 significant increases in fares, right? February went up by 15%. And then what we see now, the 20%. So a total in 5 months of 35% increase. That is quite a significant. I'm trying to figure out when was the last time in 5 months we've had this significant jump in fares. So there's a lot happening there that hasn't happened in a long, long time, which is telling us what is happening in terms of the economy. So let's go down to the reasons. What are the GPRTU's reasons for doing this? The trigger appears to be the president's announcement on May Day that government cannot reduce taxes on petroleum products, right? The president explained that if we do that, it is going to cost us 4 billion cedis annually. This clearly has been the trigger. This statement has been the trigger, because before then, GPRTU was not even making any noise about increasing fares. Right after this, it's gone up today, right? And then, of course, the big one, rising cost of fuel. So whereas the president says we can't do anything about the taxes and fuel prices constantly going up, it means the commercial transport operators are paying more for the fuel. And they say that is why they need to increase. And so if you look at the picture when it comes to the fuel price increases, this is what you begin to see. So we've seen that in December, we were buying a liter of petrol at 6.80 cedis. And then you come to March of this year, a month after the first fare increase went up, we're talking about 10.80. And you've seen that it's come down slightly at the pumps to this is in terms of, it was usually in terms of diesel. But if you go to the pumps currently, we're talking about 9.35. So it's come down. So the question we need to ask the GPRTU tonight is, this used to be the case in March, right? Where we had a 58.82% increase in the fare, in fuel prices. But if you're talking today, right, May 9th, this has reduced. Petrol prices have reduced at the pumps. We're now paying less than this at the pumps. And so why is there an increase? We'll try and get that for you. Now, these are the key factors that account for the increases that we've seen right now, right? We've seen cost of crude oil going up. This is the reason for the increasing fuel prices at the pumps. Cost of crude oil going up, refining costs also, and profits accounting for the increases there, distribution, marketing, retail station costs and profits, all these they calculate and put it on the cost that you will pay at the pumps. You have exchange rate losses, tax, this is a big one, by the way. And the Bank of Ghana has intervened in this to try and resolve this matter with some interventions for the BDCs to import. We've had taxes, levies, and margins. And this is where the GPRT has insisted, government, we know you can't do anything about the Ukraine-Russia war, which is leading to some of these factors and indicators going up. But you can do something about the taxes, because the taxes, they are yours. And so the president says, fine, now it is going to happen. And so they've decided to take that decision. Others, so a whole host of issues playing into the cost that we see. Now, these are the taxes, by the way. These are the taxes that government says, if we touch any of this, we are going to be losing quite a big amount of money, 4 billion cedis a year. And so if you put all together, we are talking about 2 cedi 90 pesos of taxes alone on every liter that you buy. So this, what you're buying, then the 9.35 at the pumps, you take 2.90 out of it, that will be the actual amount of money that you should be paying if government was not taking their taxes. The GPRT says, do something about this for us. So that is the situation at the pumps. I want you to watch a quick video of what we found when we went to the ground today on the back of this. The reason what you're going to see is playing out is, this was very sudden. This was very, very sudden. It was announced on Friday to take effect on Saturday. It didn't happen. And then Monday morning, people wake up and there's confusion. Some of the drivers have implemented it, some have not done it. And so we go to the streets and to the terminals, and this is what we find. After this, my guests will be seated. We'll have a conversation about that.
Coming from the house this morning, I have to pay almost 4 cedis 50 pesos.
Reagan Edu is surprised with news of fare increment. He works with a law firm in the heart of Accra. On a daily basis, he bought a public transport from Kolibu to Circle. Previously, he paid 3 cedis 70 pesos, but today he's been asked to pay 80 pesos more.
Previously, I used to pay 3 cedis 70 pesos, but now we are paying 4 cedis 50 pesos. And I don't think, as at this time, the hardship in the country, the salary we've taken every month compared to our transportation, I think is very huge. The percentage, they are supposed to take 20%. But here is the case, I don't think almost 80 pesos on 3 cedis 70 pesos, making it 4 cedis 50 pesos, is too much. That's not the 20%.
He is not happy.
And we are suffering a lot. The drivers are not reasoning with us. As in, we are going through difficult times. So they should also look at the fare for us. We can't be using our monthly salaries to pay for lorry fares.
Earlier this month, GPRTU announced a 20% increment in fares without approval from GRTCC and the Transport Ministry. This was supposed to take effect from the 9th of May 2022. Checks at the Circle or Donna Transport Yard shows fares had been increased.
With the load from Circle here to Dansman last stop, at first now they take 4.3, for now they rise 5 cedis.
Isaac Kumsin is a driver at the Odona Transport Yard, and he is happy they have been allowed to increase fares.
They take 5 cedis, but yesterday in the crowd, the fuel safe now is not up to, but we are managing. Small, everything will be fine. People they work for, if you take a day 10 cedis, in and out 10 cedis, they'll imagine if his salary is 500 cedis or 600. If you make a calculation at that price and one fat price, you say. So if you know how to talk to me and show him that it's not easy, the fuel safe will they buy before they close. Some fear understand saying there is no line.
Although these drivers are happy fares have been increased, they wish for more.
Circle to Banana in Zamala, the old fare be 3 cedis 70 pesos, but now it's 4 cedis 50 pesos.
Do you think that was enough?
No, because when you close, you have to know that we get profit or not get profit.
First, no mutu minu cry any and I am to my finish say yatum passing your quantum near a dose too much. Yam so bread even po say lodu near qua empty near the bar. Tienya she instead of so the yatumino.
Year to dance, it take 4 cedi. But now the new fare can at the years people they talk say 4 cedi 80 pesos they take now.
Have you charged the new fare today?
No, today there are no charge. Today there are no charges on yet.
Why is that so? We heard that Monday you are supposed to start charging the new fares.
So right now the fare come, right now we come. So by now the evening time going, then the new fare will come out.
Passengers, on the other hand, have to bear the brunt of the increment in transport fares. For many of them, the move by the drivers is insensitive given the prevailing harsh economic conditions.
So the fare, the increase, but like nothing they will do. As at first, it be 3 CD 50% from Circle to Zamala, but now it be 4-5. We be only today we I notice it be 4-5. We what I go do? I not go free work, so I go pay. Because I not go free work, I pay with and give me 50%. So I give them 5 CD, give me 50%. This be the first time I notice our time. When we have to pay, if we can't, we work. That's all. So definitely, if I go back, I'm also going to increase whatever I'm doing. If you can't also pay, you also send it to another person. Like me too, if I can't pay, I'll work.
Many life in it. One yellow, one back. I one go government, one go. Many can't me petrono. I fed no feno. Koya near Jalawa. Over what I lay Jalawa. Sukufi say Jalawa. Hey, many bane.
It's amazing and we can't afford because from our sort can run about to Circle here is 2 cedi 50 pesos. How? We don't understand. You understand? So I think they should do something about it for us because we are suffering, including the lorry fare. So I don't know. Just I came in, they said that they have increased the lorry fare, of which we don't know nothing, and even the percentage itself, because from Shalom to here it was 3 cedis 20 pesos, but today they said 3 cedis 80 pesos. Look at the 60 pesos. It's too much.
Nothing going on in town. There is no job, there is no money, yet fares are being increased every day. How can we cope?
Meanwhile, the GRTCC, in a letter issued on May 9, 2022, asked passengers and transport owners to disregard the new fares. For Joy News, Michael Ashali, Circle.
So that is the view from the streets today. Just to give you a sense of what has happened today at the mini terminals. We're going to be talking about that. There are big issues involved there that we need to dissect so you understand. And as we've just framed it and speaking to all the players in this is the dawn of fare deregulation. What really does that mean for you? We'll talk about that. My guest is joining me tonight. Abbas Imoro is a spokesperson of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, the GPRT, is with me in the studio. Always a delight to have him because he's a man who speaks for a very powerful union indeed. And the last time they coughed and decided to park their vehicles, the whole country ground to a halt. Then, Mr. Abbas, you're a very powerful man indeed.
Well, we are managing.
We'll talk to him when we get the conversation on. Also joining us is Emmanuel Ohene-Yeboah. He is the General Secretary of the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council. He's joining us on Zoom. They've issued a statement today asking all commuters to disregard the increases. And in the middle there is a good friend of mine, Kojo Poku. He's an energy analyst. You see him there. Will join us as we dissect the issues influencing the fares. After the break, when we return from the short break, we'll get into the specifics for you. Stay with me. And thank you very much for staying with us. As I indicated, in the studio with me is Mr. Imoro Abbas. On Zoom is Kojo Poku, and on the phone now, we're hoping we can get him on Zoom because of the instability in the network there. But he's the General Secretary of the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council. Mr. Yeboah joins us also. But let me start with you, Mr. Imoro Abbas. So help me understand the 20% that went up today. What factors went into determining the 20%?
Thank you very much, my brother. I think somewhere, if my memory set me right, somewhere 12 February, we came up with a 15% upward adjustment. And the communique which came out, if you look at the second paragraph, we stated over there that the threshold of 10% on fuel, if it hits 10%, will come up with another upward adjustment. We did make mention of 8.8, meaning if it moves from 7.99 to 8 cedis, 80 pesos, then we'll come up with another upward adjustment. I quite remember somewhere March, the threshold hit 10.80.
Yes.
Somewhere March.
Yes.
If my memory serves me
True.
right.
We put it up on the screen there.
Then on the 17th March, we wrote to the Transport Ministry our intention of coming up with another upward adjustment. And in that letter, we stated a meeting between GPRTU and the Transport Ministry, of which, as we speak now, there hasn't been any reply to that letter, at least. At all. If you look at managerial decisions or the system, the way the system works, at least they could have acknowledged receipt of that letter. But behind the letter, we've been communicating with them, trying to make sure we sit and solve that problem, because we felt it was even overdue for us to come up with an upward adjustment. And each time we agree on a day or time, then it's being postponed. Well, then early this May, while we were battling for upward adjustment, another increment hits the floor again. And this time it went over 11 cedis.
Is it diesel? Because
no, when we talk about fuel, we talk about diesel and petrol. Which one goes up? Because we have commercial vehicles, which use petrol.
Because petrol is selling at 9.35.
Normally, when we are calculating or we are talking about the hardship, we use diesel, we use fuel. Okay. Currently, we have more commercial vehicles using diesel than petrol. Okay. So we take the higher price, which hits over 11 cedis, and realize if nothing is being done, then we are lacking behind. Our business is crumbling. Our people are always on our nerves. 6 May, we wrote to the Transport Ministry again, informing them 7th May we are coming up with 20% upward adjustment.
So you're saying that you actually informed the Transport Ministry of this improvement?
6 May, yeah. There was another letter. And you see, I've been here with you. I told you deregulation is not good for us. And you asked why. I told you most people operate in the market and they get home very tired. If there has been any increment in fuel prices whereby we should have applied the deregulation by deciding to increase lorry fares for the next day's business, it will create more problem. This has been a very good example for all of us.
So this is the first time you are by yourself increasing fares.
And even this, we were not considering deregulation as such, but we are considering our stand and where we are with the current fuel prices. That is what we even considered, because realize writing letter to somebody 17th March, and we are now in May, and you keep getting on the persons, and when are we sitting, when are we doing something about it, and there has never been any good response. Normally, you have to decide to move forward. And I don't think there is any law binding us to come up when we are suffering. As we speak now, boiled egg is no longer being sold at 1 cedi. It's 2 cedis. Even bull fruit is no longer being sold at 1 cedi. 2 cedis and above. Who did they consult before coming up with these current prices? Let me go back to the GRTCC. I read something about it. It's unfortunate.
They issued a statement today.
It's unfortunate.
And they said they should disregard your increase.
It is just unfortunate. If they have members that are operating transport, if they have...
As in GRTCC.
Well, if they have, then we will still say it's just unfortunate. each time we are going to talk about upward adjustment, they wait for our proposals. I wish one of them is with us over here, for me to ask him, when have they ever presented a proposal on board for discussion? They always wait for our proposals. And secondly, the General Secretary, I wish he's a good friend of mine, but we are into serious business. So when we come to this stage, we don't play. We always have to exhibit the best that we can do. I will ask him if he has been a driver before. He has never been a driver. He should show us which station he has operated at. Because he has never been a driver, he doesn't feel the impact for commercial drivers. The way people are suffering, school is going to be reopened. We have to make sure we pay for our kids' school fees. And if you don't get something at the end of your tunnel, how do you pay for your kids' school fees? Some people have to pay rents. In a nutshell, most of these vehicles that you see, the new vehicles, are bank loans supported vehicles. And bank will give you a payment schedule. For example, you are with the bank and I have come to borrow money and buy a vehicle. Normally, the bank's name will be in it with your name. And if you are unable to finish with the payment, the schedule of the payments, most cases, our people lose
their vehicles.
Yes, because if you are to finish with the payment for about 4 years and you have done 2 years, and after the 2 years you are unable to go by the schedule, normally you lose the vehicle.
So I'll bring your friend Mr. Yeboah in shortly. So to break it down, this 20% is only because of the increase in the fuel price.
We did not include spare parts. We did not include lubricants.
Okay.
We just considered.
Have the price of lubricants gone up too?
Yes.
Okay.
We haven't considered all those. We just do. That was why I was saying we have come up with 20% religiously. We use human face and we religiously, because to be honest with you, you demonstrated something. And the percentage at which it was from the 7.99 and that of today, you see how many percent.
But on the petrol price have reduced slightly from what they used to be.
But how about the diesel?
The diesel,
we take the highest rate because we use diesel, we use fuel, and petrol as well.
So let me bring you your friend, Mr. Yeboah. Mr. Yeboah, thank you for your time on PM Express.
Thank you very much, my brother. Good evening.
Good evening. And you had your friend.
My regards to my friend about.
Yes. You had your friend.
You believe that ball is don't mind.
You had your friend there. His point to you is that they cannot continue with this arrangement because government has not responded to their message, their letter since March. Are you aware about these letters? 2 letters, right?
Yes. And before he starts, I want to inform him that some of their people have embraced the 20%.
So they also have members. They also have drivers.
Some few people who belongs to them, and they are even asking for more.
Who are their members?
Or the pro-tours cooperatives. They are.
So are they also charging the 20%?
Yes, this is what I'm telling him. If he's not aware, for him to come up and say they should disregard our proposals. His people are taking what we have brought on board.
Mr. Yeboah.
About stop that ball is speaking for more than 20 minutes. Let me have mine to go and do it.
Well, if only you are going to be sincere.
Okay, let him have his time. Mr. Yeboah, is that true that your members have embraced and they are implementing the 20% increase?
Don't mind about it. Thank you very much, man.
Should I show you the research we make where and where?
About why would you keep quiet?
Mr. Yeboah, please go on.
I'm good evening. Thank you so much. Let me first try to speak to some of the things that Abbas mentioned about the fact that the GRCC has never presented any data. It's unfortunate Abbas is speaking this way. You see, we've always worked as a team. The GRCC and the GPRC, until this yesterday's thing that they did, have been very good working partners. And we are still working partners. In fact, we are still friends. Let me emphasize that. The fact that we don't present it, look, if you be truthful to yourself, if you ask those who were his predecessors before he joined this team, eventually, in fact, let me put on record that Abbas is normally not part of the team that negotiates for the increase, but sometimes he joins us as part of his responsibility. So he joins us. But let me say that no one individual union usually presents anything, except that when they started doing their thing, the so-called coalition that they formed, that is where they came out with this thing. That was even done by people outside their union. I don't want to go to that length, but Abbas, don't go that line. That is the issue on the reference is what we should address. And two, the fact that me not being a driver, I'm not being a driver before. And this thing has been going on some of the platforms over this month, with the Abbas and his crews, the Agbados and the rest. Look, Abbas, let me put on record. In all my life, I've done transport. When I started working life as a young man, I started with transport, and I'm still doing transport. The fact that you don't see me in stations shouting or doing that doesn't mean I don't do transport. Do you know City Express? We are the people who started City Express. I've worked with City Express, I've worked with SPC, and I've worked with Pro Tour. And you see, in the fact that I don't see me shouting or being loading at stations doesn't mean I'm not a driver. I can tell you I do practical and administrative transport. So please, when you're talking about me not doing transport, don't go there. I've been quietly listening to people all this while. If you like, I'll forward my CV to you. And you see the kind of transport I've done over this year. Let's drop that issue. Look, on the substantive issue of what has happened, we wish it didn't happen the way it did. Like I said earlier, we are working partners. I have a lot of respect for any of them. Abbas is a very good friend, the general secretary, the chairman, the vice chairman, and all. They are very good friends. But in this instance, I think they erred, and they should accept it in good faith.
Why did they err?
Good. I'll explain that. You see, Evans, we like I said earlier on, as a team, since 2001, this system of meeting with the transport ministry and the other stakeholders has been the mode of increasing our fares since 2001. Along the line, let me put on record, GPIQ, as I speak to you, having written to withdraw their membership from the GRTC. They are members of the council, GRTC. They are part of the foundation members. They haven't written to withdraw, except that they have decided not to take part because of one or two reasons. That's some administration back then took. And of course, we have to follow because it's an administrative issue. Nobody has written to us for taking. So they are part of the council. We are saying this thing because whenever we go to a discussion like this, we do that in having the industry as a focus. That whatever we do, we should do to benefit the industry. So all that we've been doing over these years is something that we are doing to the benefit of the industry. That's why we don't go with separate ideas. And to a very large extent, the ministry comes with a better data. Whenever we are confronted, when we go with the data that to meet them, they come with superior data that has to eventually override that of ours.
Okay.
So in effect, what we do is that when they bring their data, we all subject the data to scrutiny, and we arrive at whatever we want to arrive at. Mind you, this fuel thing we are talking about, all of us, and I heard you saying we have some few members. About don't tickle yourself and laugh. Don't tickle yourself and laugh. If you know the kind of pressure we have come under, even to make sure that at least we don't get chaos in this instance, you appreciate it. So if you think we have different unions of 26. So granted, every union even has maybe 1,000 or maybe 5,000 people, as he claims to have. You see, some of these things that we see, sometimes we don't have to wash our dirty linen.
Are your members also charging the 20% increase?
You see, the problem they have is that we have told them, and to a very large, as far as I am concerned, most of the terminals have not charged the fee they are charging as at now. That's why we are saying that the GPIT and us, we should come and meet. When we meet, and it means we have to even start 20%. We can find a better way of bringing it out to the public so that it doesn't create confusion. So that's what we've been doing all this year.
Yes, except that, are you aware of the letter they wrote to the ministry in March?
Of course, they didn't copy me, so I wouldn't know.
Okay, but he says that they wrote to the ministry in March and they haven't even received a response to that message. That definitely is a problem.
Let me speak to my issue. Look, I was saying that Abbas later I think joined the strategy team lately.
Mm-hmm.
I know whenever we indicate normally when we indicate to meet the ministry, we just do by a telephone call. Either we call him or he call us, and we all converge and we meet to decide it. There are still instances that they've written letter. If you can include to the issues, let him go back to his archive and see if he can even produce more than 5 letters that they printed 10 minutes over this period concerning fuel increase, lorry fare increase. This is done at a level, at a commemorative level.
Mr. Eba, very quickly to the very substantive matters, though. The reasons that they've announced is 20%. They say the fuel. Do you agree that where we are now with the fuel, there is a justification for an increase in fares?
Thank you very much. You see, I've said this thing elsewhere that there's a justification for the increase.
Okay.
There's truth about that. But the approach is what I'm complaining about.
Okay.
I'm saying that if there's a standing convention that we have used over the years and it's working for us, and nobody has had the cause to complain about the convention itself, why would you get away from the convention without reference to other parties on the same platform?
Okay.
Look, if you could have called us, look, Mr. Ohini or colleagues, guys, we think this convention is absolutely useful. So let's find a better way of doing this. We all agree or disagree, and we come out whatever strategy you want to adapt going forward. But if you on your own process, because I remember I heard about speaking on radio, I think it was Thursday or Friday, and I heard him say he doesn't take decision for GPIT, and that it's not decided to increase any fare. If he had told me they want to increase fare, they would have had a word of advice from him. But because it wasn't an issue that Abbas was interested, the General Secretary or the Chairman who was speaking to it, and Abbas actually confirmed that he doesn't take decision for the union. I thought, well, it was normal. Abbas has done a lot of interviews. Any interview you speak about a lot of things. It's normal.
Let me ask you finally. You agree that there's a justification for the increase? Would you say 20% is a fair increase?
I don't think it is fair. Why am I saying so? You see, fuel constitutes about a third of the total operational cost.
Okay.
Abbas was saying that when we do the calculation, we add spare parts and all those. Yes, we do that, but we only do that once a year.
Okay.
Sometimes twice a year. We do it at the beginning of the year and the maybe mid-year and maybe the close of the year. That's why we use spare parts and other components to do it. But the actual fare increase is going to do fare increase based on fuel. It's a third. So granted, if what the percentage you quoted that it has gone up, if it's about say 40% as you're calculating, it's only a third that you can use as a fare increase.
Okay.
So a third of 40 gives you up to about say, is it 16 or I think 15 or something, about whatever runs about 70%. So definitely 20 is on the higher side.
Okay.
I heard you asking him what constituted the 20%. And he wouldn't speak to it. But he doesn't have any information to share on that.
Who tells you?
You see, I'm sorry it gets to you said when it comes to business, it's business. It's business. But about let's learn from good practices.
Okay.
We are friends. We can consult each other.
So, Mr. Ibua, stay with me. I mean, the two friends, we'll talk again, but I want to cut through the specifics. So now you have a different view on the 20%. And let me bring in...
Yeah, I think 20% is a bit on the higher side.
Okay. Stay with me, Mr. Ibua. Stay with Mr. Ibua briefly. I'll come back to you shortly and hear Mr. Abbas too. But let me bring in Mr. Kujopuku, who has been quiet listening to the two of you on this matter. He stands in the middle. So tell me, Mr. Poku, you've heard the two sides, but at the heart of this is an area that you are very conversant with, which is the fuel prices. And both men agree that there's a justification for the increase. Of course, the disagreement is about the approach. You've had the GRTCC say 17% maximum, GPRT say 20%. If you look at the fuel prices and where they are, first of all, do you agree there's a justification for an increase in fares, Mr. Kodepo?
Not at this current moment. We are definitely getting to the apex of the problem. And if you look at this window, you look at the specifics of what happened this window, there shouldn't be an increase in the fuel prices in this window. There is a lot that the government is doing to help reduce the prices. Look, there are two components that we all constitute the fuel pricing. The external price, which is the Platts, what we buy from the external source, and then there is also the dollar to the city. If you look at the external prices, we are on the lower side of what we were in the beginning of March. Let me give you specifics. If you look at the beginning of March, crude oil went up to as high as $130 a barrel. In terms of the Platts price for gasoline and diesel, gasoline went up to $1,250 per metric ton, and diesel went to $1,466 per metric ton. That was the highest we've ever had this year. As we speak now, gasoline is $250 cheaper than what it was the beginning of March. The diesel situation, there's a bit of scarcity in the market. So it's the scarcity that is basically making the price go up. But in terms of nominal terms, the price of diesel should be lower than what it is, because crude oil, as we speak, is around $105 per barrel. So we are going through some level of volatility. And I think if you look at the prices on its own, it's lower now than it was as far back as March. Now, you go to the dollar to the cedi conversation. The government is doing a lot to try and help with the dollar to the cedi conversation, where they are... Hello, can you hear me?
I can. Yes, I can, Kojo. I can.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, I can,
Can you
Kojo.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So if you go to the dollar to the cedi conversation, what the government and the Bank of Ghana and the Ministry of Energy has done is to try to help with getting cheaper forex for the BDCs and the OMC. So what you are getting now is, in the past, where the BDCs and the OMCs are going into the market to buy the forex, they no longer have to do that. They are now having to go to Bank of Ghana, and Bank of Ghana is auctioning them forex. So that intervention is helping with a much lower FX. Okay, so if we give ourselves the next 3 to 6 weeks, that whole situation will normalize, and we'll actually see a downward trend of the fuel prices as we have it. So it's a bit unfortunate that somebody at this juncture, when the lot is being done, the person will go and increase fuel to say that fuel prices are high.
But Mr. Poku,
had 15% increase just in March.
We heard Mr. Abbas say that diesel, most of their vehicles use diesel, and the diesel prices at the pumps, if you forget for a minute what the government is doing, is it reflecting at the pumps? He says the diesel prices have gone up instead, making the interventions has happened. And even Mr. Ibua said your 17% is your 20% is too much.
I'll get to Mr. Ibua.
Sorry, forgive me, Mr. Kujopuku is back. Let him address that question. But can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I was asking a question about if you listen to the GPLTU spokesperson, he's clear that at the pumps they are not seeing the benefits of the interventions you talk about, at least when it comes to diesel. because most of their members use diesel. Exactly. So there's clearly justification then for the increase.
No, and that's why I said the diesel, the price on the table should reflect, because there's a bit of scarcity in diesel. That is why you're seeing the diesel price a bit high. But the international price of diesel is really not reflecting what it should be at the pump. But those challenges, given it in the next 2 to 3 weeks, will be resolved in terms of the scarcity, and also the scarcity reflecting on the price. We know that demand and supply affect the price. So when there isn't a lot on the market, really, it would also affect the pricing. But what I am saying is that these are fluid situations. And because of the fluidity of it, it's too early for somebody to come and say that, look, I'm increasing prices. My question is, why now? Because there's nothing that has happened in this window for them to want to have an increase. You've had 15% in February. Yes, government is asking you to be patient. They are putting a lot in place. They did 15% reduction in the prices, the taxes that everybody wanted more. But government said, look, I can only do 15%. And they are putting interventions in place to make sure that in the next couple of months, you will actually see a downward trend on the fuel. For the last 3 to 5 weeks, we've not seen any major increase. The first major increase we saw was the one that it went up to the over 10 Ghana cedis. But since then, the measures that's been put in place is working. So if you look at the international price, it's really on the downward trend. The dollar to the cedi, the forex, the BOG is doing what they are doing by giving FX to the OMCs and the PDCs. And that's also on the downward trend. So we need to give that space a bit of chance. What we are scared of is that when GPRGU and its members increase fares, it affects everything, okay? And the price doesn't come down again. So we are really
but that's the reality with almost everything else in Ghana, is it not? I mean, so they are only responding to the situation as they see it at the pumps. Give me a second. Let me get his thoughts on this. That's the point there. That
Mr. Kojo Poko, I'm also Kojo. I was born on Monday. But mine is in the afternoon. I don't know. Maybe he's in the evening. He's telling a nice story. Mr. Kojo, you are telling us a nice story. We are talking about the current pump price, and you are talking about dollars, the way they buy a barrel of dollars. Does that reflect at the pump? The answer is no. If the answer is no, then you should listen to us carefully.
He says if you are patient a bit in the next
Patience when? We are buying, as we speak today, we are buying at the pump with the current prices. He hasn't spoken about 11 to 12 taxes, which are on the fuel. And you are talking about a barrel, the price of a barrel.
He asked the question, though, that this pricing window, that last price...
Should we wait while we are sacrificing? We are dying off. Our business is fading off. Do Mr. Kojo Poku means, should we stop operating? We should stop operating and wait for when the price will be reduced. If the answer is no, you should listen to what we are saying now carefully.
But GLTCC members, well, I didn't get a clear answer there. It appears that they want to wait for the government to
well, Mr. My brother, Nana Ohene Yeboah, it should be told that we have moved from analog to digital. He is talking about ancient things. We are talking about the current situation. So he should listen to us and put his foot in our shoes and move together to as he was saying. We are talking about the current situation.
He agrees that there should be an increase, but not...
He was telling you that it should be around 17%. He should come up and tell us, why 17%? Why is his own people who are charging the 20% they wish we could have even gone
he says
up a bit.
Your cost factors, a third is fuel. And then if you use the spare parts, you only do the review once a year.
I've told you.
And then he calculated it to 50%.
I've told you these are people who wait for our proposals. And he was trying to dodge that. They have never presented any proposals before.
He disagrees with that.
That is,
do it together.
We are in the public domain. Definitely, he will defend himself. I'm telling you with authority. They have never presented. For him saying, I wasn't in the team, he wasn't also in the team. He wasn't at where he is today. Once upon a time, he was in there, I also wasn't there. And today we are all there, serving our unions and the people as well.
So if, because I know he has indicated that the ministry has indicated that they might meet you this week. If
Well,
the ministry calls you, will you go?
Why not? Okay. If we don't respect the ministry,
but you've already,
we wouldn't have written to them.
Okay. But you've already announced it and you're implementing.
We are working. His people has even joined. They are happily taking the 20%.
So if the ministry...
but we are still moving forward. If the ministry calls us, we'll go, and the ministry should accept the situation today that the fault comes from them. They should have to accept it.
If the ministry asks you to reduce the percentage of increase, would you do it?
Why? They should tell us why.
Because GRTCC says they don't believe that. He says 20% is too high.
They are themselves and we are ourselves. We are the majority who are suffering. They should come up with their membership. We should also come up with our membership for you to justify who is suffering, who buys more, who contributes more. These taxes that the president says we are going to lose about 4 billion, so there is nothing he can do about it. Meaning we contributed most of this 4 billion that the president spoke about.
Let me ask you this going forward. Going forward, would you still be using the approach that you've used for the past 2 decades in announcing fuel prices? In announcing transport fares?
We have never announced anywhere that we are not going to work with the ministry.
So you work with the ministry?
That was why we wrote to them.
Okay.
And that was why 6 May, we again wrote to them to inform them. I mean, we are law-abiding. You have attested to some of our
But you haven't
utterances.
done this in 2 decades, so this is very new.
Well, when West come to West, you take a good decision. That is what we've taken.
But you haven't abandoned the convention.
Have you heard when gentility fails, brutality succeeds?
So that's what is happening now.
That is what is happening now.
But the next time there's an increase in fuel price, you would go back to the table.
Why not? We'll do the process. We'll go through the process. If the process fails, and we have to survive. Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yes, of course.
Mr. Ebua, so he says they have not abandoned the process, but this one is too late. Is there a meeting set this week? And I understand that meeting possibly is Wednesday.
Yes, thank you very much. My brother Abbas keeps talking about things he himself doesn't believe. You see, the thing is that you say you believe it, and you have a hint. You say you wrote a letter to him on the 6th May. Is that what he said?
Yes, 17th March and 6th May.
17th March and 6th May.
Yes, please.
What's today's date?
Come again.
What's today's date?
Today is 9th.
Today is 9th.
So you wrote a letter to him on when? Saturday or Friday?
The 6th May. 6th May was Friday.
Yes. I mean, so Mr. Ebua, I just have a few minutes. Your point is...
No, you see, Evan, what I want to say is that, look, the ministry, whether we like it or not, they are partners in the industry.
Okay.
We cannot do away without it. The driver and the car owner have an interest, as well as the passenger. Who speaks for the passenger?
Yeah.
Do you think we can get a blank check to do whatever we like?
So have you secured a meeting with the ministry yet?
Yes, he gave his word that he will meet us on Wednesday.
Okay.
He gave his word. But what I'm saying is I want to just draw a little conclusion here. That look, the terminals we operate in doesn't belong to the government. The state terminals. The GPIC, all the numbers that they are about to posting of, have they built a new terminal for themselves?
Are we not Ghanaians?
So no, yes.
Are we not Ghanaians? Don't we have right to use the terminals? Tell us if you are going to tell the government to sack us from the terminal. Tell us. Are we not Ghanaians? Don't we contribute?
Listen to me.
Oh, my brother, we have moved from analog. We have moved from analog to digital.
Okay.
So change your mindset.
But very quickly though, because I need to get yes, very quickly in a few seconds.
Yes. What I'm saying is that if he thinks he's a Ghanaian, so he has the right to operate at the terminal. The Ghanaian traveler also has the right to be treated fairly. So why would you sit in your home, in the comfort of your home, at your hall, by your wife, by your side, to decide that I'm going to increase by 20% without any scientific basis?
Okay. I mean, thank you, Mr. Yeboah. Mr. Kodopoku, on this subject of the taxes, very briefly, what's your take on that? Okay. I think we lost him there, but that is a very fundamental part of this reason why the president's announcement, right, that they can't do anything about it is what has happened. So are you looking forward to this meeting?
Oh,
if it happens?
I've told you on several occasions that if they invite us, why not?
Okay.
And if we don't regard them,
you would have written it. Okay. So for everybody who will be going to work tomorrow, now across the country, formally, today it was a bit of confusion.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Tomorrow you could expect to pay all these fares at the terminal if you didn't pay already today.